Alrighty, everybody. So, you know how some things just are meant to be and some things just happen for a reason, right? Well, this story that I am going to tell you right now was just meant to be, okay? It happened for a reason, and obviously it meant to be. It was a dream come true. I finally bought my new car, which is extremely exciting, okay? So I bought a 2017 Nissan Rogue with only 26,000 miles on it. What a steal. What a legendary upgrade from my 2008 Subaru Outback. Okay, so the car that I had before was a 2008 Subaru Outback, like I just said, and 136,000 miles on it. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it got to a point where it was just over 137,000 miles on it. Okay, a ton of miles on it. It was basically falling apart. Okay, it was at a point where I just basically had to dump tons and tons of money into the car in order to keep it running. So it got to a point where even my own mechanic was like, "Hey, it's not worth having this piece of garbage at this point." Okay, my mechanic looked at me and he said, "Jason, it's basically like driving a lemon on wheels." Okay, so I took that advice and it was actually great advice, and I went around to a whole bunch of other mechanics, and guess what? They said the same exact thing. So I was like, you know what? This is pretty legit, okay? This sounds like it's time for a new car, unfortunately. But, so we did a whole bunch of homework. We went around, to a whole bunch of different websites, went around to a whole bunch of dealerships, including CarMax, a whole bunch of, we looked at a Toyota RAV4, we looked at a Honda CRV, okay? And I went crazy and I looked at a Tesla just to see how expensive they were, okay? Teslas are extremely expensive, and guess what? Teslas aren't really designed specifically for myself, who's still a college student, because guess what? At least for where my college is, Teslas they have their charging station about 25-30 minutes away from my college. Okay, so that's pretty inconvenient. That's not convenient at all. Because what if I got stuck in that scenario where I don't have enough charge to get to the charging station to charge my own car? And plus, at my college, there basically wouldn't be any way I could get my own charger and therefore charge my own vehicle at the place that I am living at 24/7 when school's in session, right? So it's kind of a lost situation right there. So, it was a good thing I looked into it. It was a good thing I thought about it and I talked about it with other people. And obviously I wasn't even close to being able to afford that yet. So that wasn't even a question. So that was kind of my fun. But it got to later in the search, and the Toyotas and the Hondas that we were looking at, were pretty expensive for low mileage cars. I also wanted to drive my car from my house in Massachusetts down to my college in North Carolina, and guess what? That's a long drive. Okay, it's a lot of driving back and forth between Massachusetts and North Carolina. So guess what? I wanted something with low mileage to be able to support me doing that for the rest of my years in college. And guess what? I wanted it to also last for the rest of the time, for a lot of time after I graduate college. So I was like, okay, obviously need to look at a different kind of car, because the Toyotas and the Hondas that, like I was saying, didn't really help support that dream. It didn't really support that vision. So I was doing some talking, I was doing some research, and I was doing some looking on the computer and at other dealerships, and guess what? The Nissan Rogue supported that goal, that vision, that dream, and that financial opportunity, right? So I went around to a lot of dealerships, and a lot of these prices were fitting our price range for that amount of mileage. So it got to a point where we saw this vehicle at a dealership right by Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, so it was just outside of Hartford, and so we went down there. This car was at a great price for such a low amount of mileage, only like 26,000 miles on it, which was awesome. And so we test drove it, drove beautifully. Okay, the gas mileage on it is awesome. 25, 26 miles to the gallon in the city. Just about 32 on the highway. So obviously saving a ton of gas that I would have been on a Subaru, because guess what? The Subaru was probably less than that, okay? A hell of a lot of mileage, okay? Like I said, 137,000 miles on it. Its days were coming to an end, clearly, like my mechanic said. And guess what? My air conditioning did not work whatsoever, okay? We kept having to refill it over and over and over again. And why the heck do we want to spend the money and the time refilling something that's just going to go out anyway? So we got to the conclusion where we're like, okay, look, we need to get ourselves going here, right? We need to get going. We need to, we need to get things into second gear. So we saw this car. Everything was perfect about it. Like I said, we test drove it. We drove beautiful. And so we started negotiating the price. And, that was always the interesting part. So if you ever get a new car, make sure you are ready to negotiate, because if you don't get what you want, then what the hell are you there for? And so we started negotiating, and of course they wanted to charge us like $10 million in fees, because that's where they, really want to make their money. That's really where they want to go. And so we were like, okay, we're obviously not going to do that whatsoever. So we're like, hey, we're going home, okay? We're not paying all these fees. And of course they're like, oh, yeah. And here's another thing too, okay? If you want to get a new car, go at the end of the month, okay? So, if you want to get a car this month, which is currently July, go towards like the last week of July, especially the last few days, because those salespeople are begging to make a sale. Like, they're waiting to make a sale because they have to hit a certain quota, right? They have to hit a certain financial standpoint, and if they don't hit that mark, if they don't hit that sales goal, that sales target, then guess what? They're in trouble, right? Like, their jobs are kind of in jeopardy a little bit, because they, their bosses set that high standard, that high expectation, right? So we negotiated, we got the price we want, and guess what? Walked away with the car, 2017 Nissan Rogue, only 26,000 miles on it, which was absolutely incredible. And so at this point, I have to raise the bar for myself, right? I want to deck this car out. I have to pay this car off. I want to deck it out as well. So this is where y'all come in, okay? This is where each and every single one of you come in. Because if you want to see me drive a beautiful car to begin with, but you want to see me drive an even more beautiful car, even more gorgeous car than it already is, then we got to get to 1,000 subscribers, okay? And then we got to get to the 4,000 public hour march. 4,000 public view mark, okay? So until then, I will be here turning on my car and turning on my AC until we get to that point, okay? So I'll quickly show you my new car, and then we will conclude the video, and then I will go in and turn on my air conditioning that I actually have now, which is an absolutely beautiful luxury, okay? So here is the inside of my new vehicular transportation, the 2017 Nissan Rogue, right? Take a look.